Hello and welcome to all agents, trainers, Pikmin bloomers, ballers, Parrot daughters, lightship pilots, eighth wall advertisers, and our beloved explorers and wayfinders. Thank you for choosing the Wayspotters podcast. Wayspotters is brought to you by the good people at the Pokemon Professor Network, and today is Friday, June 2nd, 2023. Only 16 days until Jamal's birthday from recording. So plan your gifts accordingly. We've got a lot of good stuff for you today. We're pretty excited about it. This could be potentially a jam-packed show. So we got a heck of a lot to talk about and a lot of Wayfarer stuff. So we're going to go ahead and get started. We're going to debut a new segment today. So you guys will have to let us know if you like it, love it, or hate it, if you want to keep it, or if you want to punt it. But before we get into all that, we have to bring in Chris. We couldn't have an episode of Waste, Chris. Hey, buddy, how you doing?
I'm good, man. How you doing?
I am doing great. How are things in Canada today?
It is hot. Like Canada hot. It's not like America hot, but it's Canada hot.
What's Canada hot?
I think it's high 80s right now.
Oh, that's yeah. How's your humidity though?
It's not bad today. There's a bit of a breeze, so it's not too bad. But
anywhere in the world is 80 is hot to me. That's hot.
Yeah.
So,
I know there's probably some people who live in the southern United States are going, that's like spring. And it's June. Like it never gets this hot in June.
Right.
Here.
So I'm in the southern United States, but I'm not a southerner, West Coast boy. So this heat and humidity, I've been in the South almost 20 years and I'm still not used to it. I still walk outside and it looks like I just got out of the shower. So at some point I'll get used to it. My kids are like, Dad, you're a wimp. And I'm like, well, you were born here. I was not born here. I was born in California and I was raised in Oregon. This north heat and humidity is foreign to me. So
yeah.
But you know what's not foreign to me, Chris?
What's that?
The news. And I understand you have a lot of it today. So let's go ahead and
And now, the latest Niantic news from the Wayspotters podcast, presented by the Pokemon Professor Network.
That's amazing. I love that. All right, let's jump in. A big thanks to Testone for that.
Yes.
Let's jump right into the news because there is a lot. So we broke the Wayfarer challenge. They ran out of spots in Brazil. In Spain. They ran out of spots in Spain. And
don't get ahead of yourself yet.
Yeah, I'll get there in a second. So they have done a couple things. Indonesia. So at the time of recording, we're already through Indonesia. They added Indonesia. They started Brazil, and they actually had to start Brazil early because they started running out of spots in Indonesia. So if you noticed that Brazil started a bit early, that's why. Up until 12 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time on the 5th of June, you'll see bonus locations from Brazil for the challenge. And then from the 5th to the 7th at 4:59 a.m. Pacific will be India. So they're bringing back past Wayfarer challenge locations to get us through this challenge.
You notice they skipped over Russia.
I did notice they skipped over Russia. I wonder why. That's a whole other podcast.
Right.
And they've also, because I said, and here's what I think. I think that those individual rewards have super motivated people, and people are just destroying this challenge. So now we have tier 4, which is 50,000 way spots. Ooh. It says reviewed, but I'm pretty sure that means resolved. Yeah, resolved. So we've already hit that.
Ooh. We are murdering it. We are killing it. This is amazing.
If you go on to your Wayfarer page on the showcase, you'll notice the number is super low right now. What is it right now? Let me look.
Because it started over, right?
Yes. So every time they change the location, it resets. But we have hit 50. I think we're close to 60 at this point.
That's just nuts.
So the tier 4 bonus rewards, 50 Ultra Balls, 4 star pieces, 4 incense, 4 poffins, and a super incubator.
That's the big one right there. That's the big one.
Ingress, 45 level 8 Resonators, 45 level 8 XMP, 40 level 8 Ultra Strikes, 40 Hypercubes, 44 ITOEN plus, 4 ITOEN minus, 4 SoftBank, 4 rare kinetic capsules, and a fracker. I don't know what a fracker is, but
You once you hit level 10, you'll love frackers. The English rewards are so much better than the Pokemon Go rewards. Oh my
so
goodness.
much better.
Kidding me?
Oh,
I'm like
yeah. So and they've added tier 5.
Yeah.
So tier 5 is 90,000 Wayspots reviewed, and I have no doubt that we will hit that before this is over.
Sure.
We'll probably get to 100,000.
Yeah.
50 Ultra Balls, 5 Star Pieces, 5 Incense, 5 Poffins, and 5 Super Incubators.
That's great.
That is crazy. I think the 5 Super Incubators kind of brings that close to the Ingress rewards.
Yeah, it does. It does. I mean, that's like real money. You know, if you're going to go out and buy incubators, that is real money. So I think that might even get Ken off of his single incubator grind. So
it might.
We got to get him reviewing also. If you're hearing the sound of our voice and you are not reviewing right now, you are doing yourself a disservice. Get out there and review some Wayspots. There are some incredible prizes, both for the individual and the community at large. Like really good stuff. So that's awesome.
Yeah, and you only got to do 50. Right, you only got to do 50 towards the challenge to qualify for these rewards, right? So, Ingress rewards for tier 5, real quick: 50 level 8 resonators, 50 level 8 XMPs, 40 level 8 Ultra Strikes, 40 Hypercubes, 40 ITOEN plus, 44 ITOEN minus, 4 SoftBank, 5 rare kinetic capsules, and 2 frackers.
Wow!
So,
wow.
Yeah, and you can change your bonus location every time the challenge changes. So if you have your bonus location,
just to get extra reviews.
Yeah,
man, that's crazy. They are really knocking it up. Big ups to Tib, Tintino, and especially the ambassadors and the engineers and everybody over there with that. This is amazing. Yeah. What other news do you have for us?
Real quick, I said on Twitter that the Wayfarer team and the ambassadors are giving a masterclass in how to hold challenges and how to adapt to change.
Sure.
It's bonkers. All right, moving on. The nearby map screen when you are making nominations in app is broken. It's not displaying all of the nearby Wayspots. So keep that in mind when you are reviewing. Maybe download the Wayfarer app and use that because it does appear there. The Niantic, they are working on it,
right?
But upgrades are still broken. So,
I was going to put something on the forums today and ask Tintino if Niantic had plans to have upgrades fixed by the time they dole out the rewards, because there's going to be a lot of people worldwide with a lot of upgrades. And it would really suck to start upgrading things and have it be broken. So, hopefully, fingers crossed, Tintino and team, ambassadors, hopefully the upgrades fixed before the challenge is over.
I hope there's about 6 or 7 people who have asked on the forums, and they keep replying with, "We're working on it. We're working on it. We're working on it." So, they're definitely feeling the pressure on that one.
Work faster.
Work faster, the only other thing that's newsworthy, I think, is not necessarily Wayfarer related, but a little Wayfarer related. Zoe sat down with Michael Starekna. And if you haven't watched that video, we'll put the video link to the video in the show notes. I recommend that you go watch it.
Yes.
It is what do you think of it?
It looked like it kind of reminded me of like the 90s. Like they did it in like a hotel room, kind of like a Barbara Walters special. Like, I was like, couldn't he have got a studio somewhere or something? But it looks like, so since Zoe lives in Australia, I'm guessing that's Michael Starekna's hotel. It's just my guess. I'm just speculating, going out on a limb. And they didn't have lapel mics. They did it like they were holding them. The whole thing was very awkward, but here are my thoughts on it. I've ranted in the past about the Harris Niantic and how I believe that the Harris Niantic was going at it from the completely angle. And I feel that they came off as kind of an entitled bunch. Now, let me separate that from whether or not they were right in what they were saying. the way in which they said it and the way in which they delivered it was all wrong. They could be 100% correct in what they're saying and what they're asking for, but if you want something and there's a company or an entity or a person that has it, if you come at them like banging on their door with like sharp knives and sticks and say change it, they're going to tell you to kick rocks. I think the way that the first hearing went about it was a lot more coordinated and was a lot better. And I think this time around, when the Harris Niantic people didn't get what they wanted, they got upset and they thought they could bully Niantic. And I think that backfired on them. And then the second thing I think they did that backfired on them was the personal attacks and the nasty language, and going after Michael Starenka's family and his newborn baby and his wife. And that's not going to work. That's just not going to work. So
no.
Your question was, what did I think of the interview? I think the interview was good, right? Being in this business, like you and I can watch that interview and we know that there were certain things that we couldn't ask, the way in which Twitter wanted her to ask those questions, right? So Zoe's a professional. Mm-hmm. Zoe has a relationship with Niantic, and now she's got a pretty decent relationship with Michael Starenka. So Twitter wanted her to come out as a flamethrower. That's how these things work. And I'd invite a lot of Twitter to go and start a podcast and try to get guests on the show and treat them the way that you want to treat them, and you'll never have another guest on your show again. So it was a great interview. I think Zoe did a good job. I think she was in a difficult position because she, feels the pain and kind of backs the Niantic movement to an extent. I don't want to speak for her, but at the same time, I think, she's kind of behind the curtain, so she understands what Niantic is trying to do as far as their vision. So I think she was between a rock and a hard place, but I give her a thumbs up. People who were calling her a bootlicker and a suck up and all this, I was like, no, Zoe did a good job. I went on Twitter. I was like, she did a good job. She did what people wanted her to do. She got somebody from Niantic to go on record and say what their plans were. People didn't like it, so they continued to lash out and use the hashtag. But overall, I think Zoe did a good job. So if I see Zoe at GoFest, I'll shake her hand, tell her thank you. I think she did a great job. What about you? What are your thoughts?
I completely agree. I think she did a great job. She didn't pull her punches. Like, she asked the questions that the people wanted to hear. Like, why didn't you decide to? This is the big one. Why didn't you decide to just buff in-person rewards rather than nerf remote raids?
Right.
And the answer was it wouldn't have worked. And he's right.
Yeah, it wouldn't have worked.
Right. And that was the one big thing.
Yeah, people still would have spammed 100 legendaries a day, even if it's buffed in person. And that's what they want. I mean, I've talked to people connected to Niantic, and, the Pokemon company sees as real. They're real. They're not characters on your phone. They're real. And there's not supposed to be 100 Rayquazas in your inventory at any one time. That's not the spirit and the tenor of what they were trying to accomplish. So they had to find a way to balance the game out. And some people are upset. And, some people, that's the only way that I can get a Rayquaza is through a remote raid. And, we talked on show 67 and 68 and a couple other shows in the 60s about how we can help you get a Wayspot in a rural area. And we're still down to do that. But, at the end of the day, Niantic did what they felt they needed to do. And if people disagree with it, they're right to disagree with it. But I think Niantic made the right choice, personally.
Yeah, me too. I completely agree. And and I talked to somebody in one of my locals about their ability to, and the whole remote raids, they were basically buying hundo legendaries to transfer them to home.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
So now you get a hundo, because when you transfer it to home, most of the IVs stick. Right? And you're guaranteed a better IV Pokemon in the main series games, right? And you don't think the Pokemon company has an interest in that? Come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
Now you're throwing off the economy in a whole different game than just Pokemon Go. Yeah, exactly. And the ecosystem has to remain balanced, or you break it. And if you break it, then we don't have a good game. So, I think Michael was very pragmatic, very leveled, and very measured in his answers. And, some people aren't going to like his answers, but Niantic company did what they felt they needed to do, And then she didn't really get into it, but I think a lot of people on Twitter were kind of asking, why did Zoe get the interview? And I think, it was I'm going to give my personal opinion, read into it. I think it was a couple of things. I think that Niantic needed, they should have done this years ago, but they needed some high-level person, boots on the ground in APAC when something launched, just in case something broke and there's somebody there that's accountable that can say, hey, I can make a phone call. I can tap on the keyboard. I can get this fixed. So, given Michael's position at Niantic, I think he was the perfect boots on the ground. And then at the same time, Zoe was going to be there. So they kind of killed two birds with one stone. He can come out and say what he needs to say with Zoe. And then the second part of that, Chris, is if I'm the owner of a company or the owner of a business and I'm doing something special, to pay my money and fly you out to me and put you up at a hotel and feed you, am I going to bring you to do that if you are always online or marching around my building telling everybody how much of a butthole I am?
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
So there were some creators that were like, why Zoe? And why did they bring Ken and Zoe and Fleece and a few other people out to Seattle? Why didn't they bring me? Well, let's think about this. Right? Chris.
I know who you're talking about.
Right? If you're having a cookout at your house and you're going to fly me from North Carolina to Canada to the cookout, put me up in a hotel, but if all I bash you and tell people how to cheat and do all these other things, are you going to pay your money to bring me to your cookout and stay at your house? So all of these people all across the world, creators or not, who are questioning Niantic's decision-making, it's just common sense, right? If somebody is running around telling everybody how much of an a-hole I am, whether it's true or not, even if it is true, am I going to say, you know what, come over to my house and stay a few days and let me feed you? No, right? So, and it's not about being in an echo chamber and it's not about being a bootlicker. It's just common sense. So anyways.
There's constructive feedback and then there's trying to kick someone in the groin. Right.
Exactly.
And
if you pay attention, and if you pay attention, Zoe was critical of Niantic's decision, but she did it the right way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. And are you really seriously gonna make videos about cheating and then wonder why the company's not inviting you?
I mean, come on. I mean, it's
not
that hard.
I couldn't help but laugh. Anyway,
yeah. So
if you know, you know.
Yeah. If you know, you know. If you know, you know. Right on. You got any more news for us?
That is it from the news for this point.
Fantastic. All right. Well, let's jump into topic number one. So, drum roll. I need a drum roll. Yeah. Drum roll. The topic number one has got to be the Wayfarer challenge. What else would we leave the show off without the Wayfarer challenge? So, as we told you in the news, we've reviewed a lot of Wayspots. Explorers should pat themselves on the back. Wow. We did a lot of good stuff. But you know what? My rating went down to good for 3 days, and then it went back up to excellent. Ooh. Did that happen to you? Did yours come back up?
Yes. So I'm glad it wasn't only me.
Right.
But I did notice it went down to good for about 2 or 3 days, and then it went back up to excellent. So that was weird.
Yeah. So the Wayfarer challenge. So, Chris, I've been talking a lot. I want to go to you. I want to know, we are like halfway through the challenge now. We've got just a few days left. I want to know your overall assessment of what you've seen so far. The good, the bad, the ugly, and then talk about welcoming back our good old friends from Brazil, Indonesia, and India. So talk to me.
I've been impressed, actually. Especially with Spain. There was a lot of beautiful, beautiful Wayspots that I reviewed in Spain. And there was some coal, but there wasn't as much coal in Spain as there was in Indonesia. Lots of graffiti that was kind of confusing at some points. Just like, what's the border? What's the line for graffiti, you know?
Right.
But I've been impressed. Mostly, I've been impressed with the way that the team has handled this. Right? Like that we blow through Spain. The people in Spain must just not know what the heck's going on. right? Like if you're not paying attention to the Wayfarer challenge and you've got stuff in there that's like a year and a half old, and all of a sudden you got halos popping up all over the place.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
What the heck's going on?
You're like,
right?
hold on a second. Where did all this come from? All of a sudden I can play here. Yeah.
72 new gyms. But yeah, no, I've been impressed with Spain. I'm happy that the Wayfarer team recognized early that, and sorry, I should say the Wayfarer team and the ambassadors, because I'm probably sure that the ambassadors had a big part in this. Recognizing that they weren't going to make it to the end of the challenge in a manner that would be conducive to people hitting the third tier of the individual bonuses. Right. And I think that's the one that people are going to struggle with, is getting to that third tier. Because I think I'm at just over 300 right now. So I'm going to have to push hard to get to that 500 level.
Yeah, me too. I'm going to have to push through this weekend and really nail it down to get there. But yeah, you bring up a good point. Like, the thing that Niantic has been criticized for across the platform of their other games is their ability to change lanes really quickly.
Yes.
And the Wayfarer team has done a great job. So we're going to run out of Spain. Oh my goodness, we're not going to make it. Hey, you know what?
Yep.
Let's get Brazil. Let's get Indonesia. Let's get India. And it went off without a hitch. You know? And it's like it kept people engaged, because people could have just fallen off and said, you know what? Niantic, typical Niantic being Niantic. And I think the Wayfarer showing, they're Niantic being Niantic, and they're doing something really good. So I love the fact that, our old friends, Brazil, Indonesia, and India are back. I never thought I would see another Indonesian Wayspot, and here we are.
Yeah, exactly.
We're back to the arches and the gateways and, and all that. So
I'm super excited because I missed the Brazil and India challenges.
Oh, okay.
So I didn't get to participate in that. So last night I was reviewing before bed, and all of a sudden I started getting Brazil in my reviews, and I was like, this is supposed to be like tomorrow. What's going on? So I checked the forums, and Tintino posted. He's like, hey guys, the ambassadors let us know that we were starting to run out of Brazil, and we looked, or Indonesia. So oops, here's Brazil early, because we didn't want to be asleep and have you guys have nothing. I
love that. I love that. That's
great.
That
is just absolutely brilliant. So to the ambassadors that brought this up, and to the Wayfarer team, to Tino and the group, thank you. Yeah, that's foresight. That's looking ahead to a problem that hasn't even happened yet, and addressing it before it happens. And I don't think that has ever happened in the history of Niantic.
Right. That's what everyone's been wanting Niantic to do, right? Yes. So I remember during season 1 of Wayspotters, we had talked about, trying to get Niantic to open up an office in New Zealand or Australia or somewhere over there, like, hey, or and now Michael went there during the time. So, this is the kind of thing that we Niantic. So hopefully the rest of Niantic can learn from the Wayfarer team and, get boots on the ground or wherever. And hopefully for the rest of Niantic, for Pokemon Go, once Campfire launches the ambassador program, maybe those ambassadors can be as active as the Wayfarer ambassadors to make the game go a lot better and a lot smoother. Our ambassadors are kicking tail and taking names. I absolutely love it. They are doing a great job both on the forums, and I'm sure they're doing an equally as good of job behind the scenes that we don't know about. So it's very exciting. It's very exciting. So we'll have to there's 2 things that I want to do, Chris, and I'm going to say it on the air to make sure that I get it done. So number 1 is I've been reaching out to people in Spain on Discord, trying to find someone who feels comfortable enough in English to come in and talk to us about the Wayfarer challenge. There was one person I was talking to last week, but they didn't feel that their English was good enough. So I'm talking to a couple other people, because I want to get an actual Spanish Wayfinder Explorer to come on and talk to us once it's over. Like, tell us, it's kind of tell them what you're going to tell them, and then tell them what you told them. I want someone to come in and do that. And then the second thing is once we get ready for the next challenge, I want to try to get an ambassador on to kind of talk to us about some of the work they do behind the scenes. I've talked to a couple of ambassadors, and they can't really talk about the things they're doing right now because they're kind of in the work. So I want to be respectful of their NDAs. So when they're done with their current work, I want an ambassador to come on. You know, we've had a few of them on, whether it's Genji or Testone or Sea Princess or AS for Andis. You know, we've had a few of the ambassadors on in the past. So I want to try to get one of those people to come back and kind of talk to us about some things there. So, but for topic number one, for topic number one, I think, you know, all good stuff. There's not, I think the only negative, Chris, that I can bring up is, and it's not even a negative, it's just probably just more of an engineering thing. I want like all Spanish, all Indonesian, all Brazilian, all, you know, Indian. I just feed me just a drip of everything.
Yeah.
Right? I want to get to 500 as soon as possible. You know, without neglecting the local stuff, but that's what I want.
Yeah, I think like right at the beginning, that first day, I think the ratio was good for me, at least. I thought it was decent, right?
Right.
But I think the problem was that the algorithm was broken that first day, and then we started to run out of Brazil real quick. Like there's only, so when Tino posted on May 30th about the recap and saying, hey, we're adding Indonesia, Brazil, and India, there's only 95 explorers who had hit tier 3.
Right. I saw that.
So there's 21,000 participating explorers. 95 had hit tier 3, 323 had hit tier 2, 1,200 had reached tier 1, and 2,700 had reached the threshold of getting the 50, right? So the global rewards. So that tells me that there was a lot of people who were kind of doing it casually, and there's a bunch of people who were just hammering them.
Right, going hardcore.
And they ran out, right? So I think my only criticism for this one was, and I cannot fault the ambassadors or the Wayfarer team for this at all, was they underestimated the veracity in which people wanted to hit 500 to get those individual rewards, because those individual rewards are fantastic.
Yes, they are.
Right?
Yes,
especially for Pogo, because you don't get, now that they've added the super incubators to tier 5 for global, it's a little bit better, but there's a lot. So people want to hit that 500 to get those bonus rewards, and
I'm doing it for the upgrades, but to be honest, I'm doing it almost as much for the Ingress rewards, because I'm trying to get 16 in Ingress and I don't play enough. So I end up spending money on gear because I'm not playing enough to go out and get my bag full of like stuff. So I'm just going into the shop and I'm buying stuff, and I'm like, this is a lifeline for me. So it's amazing. So
yeah.
Last thing on the Wayfarer challenge, anything you think they can do right now to make the experience better before it ends in a few days?
I don't think so. I think at this point we are where we are.
Mm-hmm.
I hope that there's enough wave spots in Brazil and India to get us through to the end.
Yeah.
I'm sure there will be.
Yeah.
But I think at this point that this one, it is where it is.
Yep,
next time, I think they might want to group a bunch of countries together and say, hey, here's like 3 or 4 countries that need help.
Right.
We're not even going to vote. We're just going to do all 3 of them. Right. You know what I mean?
Right. Just throw the entire Soviet bloc at us. Right.
Yeah.
Just give us all the Baltics and everything. Just
here's the whole Asia Pacific region. Or
exactly.
You know?
Right. Just like, boom. Let's go. Yeah. That's awesome.
So,
all right, let's move on to topic number 2. So topic number 2 is called, Where is my World? And Chris, this came to me, and I shared this with you. I had jumped into a couple of other Discords across the country that have a Wayfarer channel and just kind of talk to people. Hey, are you watching or listening to the podcast? What do you think? Give me some feedback. And I shared Testone's tutorial with a few people, and you know, hey, is this good? Is this helpful? What other kind of tutorials would you like to see? And I kind of made an assumption in there that like very basic things, like since you're in a Wayfarer Discord in your local Pogo channel or whatever, like you probably don't need the super basic things. Just making that assumption. And quite to my surprise, people were like, no, we would love a tutorial on the very basic things. Like I just started Wayfaring not that long ago, and I just assumed some things, and this person is helping me and that person is helping me, but I really don't know what I'm doing. And I kind of link that to like when I'm trying to build something or put something together, I have no idea what I'm doing. I go onto YouTube and I put it up and I just kind of follow the steps on YouTube. I still don't know what I'm doing. I got it done, but I just kind of follow the steps there. So
yep.
That's good feedback for us, and we can kind of put some more tutorials together. But I wanted to talk about this. So over the last little bit of change, explorers have been reviewing nominations through this challenge, meaning there's a lot more Wayspots that have been going through, is what I like to call naturals. And that's a good thing, right? Well, yes, it's a good thing, but some of these nominations may never show up in the game, and you want them to. And then most recently, I was scrolling through Reddit, and I've seen some posts from newer reviewers asking the question, my was approved, but it doesn't appear in the game. Why and where did it go? So, Chris, I know this can be frustrating for anyone, especially a new Wayfinder, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to go over an older post that was put up by friend of the show, on the community forum. So can you pull that up, Chris?
Yeah.
Pull that up on screen, and I'll go ahead and I'll read it. For our audio listeners and our YouTube listeners, will be able to see what we have on the screen. And we can kind of talk about this, because this is one of those things I don't think you and I have talked about on the show. I know way back when in season 1, we talked about this, and I don't think we've talked about it in season 2.
No, we definitely haven't. Let me find the post. There we go. Got it.
All right. So let's bring this up. So Tintino posted this on the community forums, and I'll go ahead and I'll read this for our audio listeners on Spotify, Google, Apple, and all the other podcatchers. Thank you for tuning in. Hello, explorers. Thank you for your contributions. Getting a Wayspot nomination is a great accomplishment. You should be proud. Your accepted nomination has been added to the Niantic map and helps keep it fresh and engaging for all users around the world. While your accepted nomination is guaranteed to show up in our databases and all other Niantic, such as Pokemon Go and Ingress, etc., choose which ones to include. Let me start over. Choose which ones and how to include accepted Wayspots from the database. So, while not all accepted Wayspots will show up in each one of our games, it will be available for future products to include as fit for their experience. Each game has its own schedule as to when it will sync with their database. It can take up to 48 hours for the systems to update for those Wayspots to choose to appear in the game. Safe exploring. So this is important because I hear this a lot, and I hear people. I had this happen to me just the other day. I was like, wait a minute, the sync time was supposed to be 30 minutes ago. Why isn't it synced yet?
Yeah.
And some of my locals and like people on Reddit are like, this finally got approved, but it didn't show up in the game. And they're like, but when I originally looked, when I nominated it 6 months ago, it was clear. And then I go and I look, it's nominated something else in that cell. So now that's not going to show up. So, Chris, you do a really good job of explaining this. Do you want to just take a stab at explaining to the newer Wayfarers who are watching the show some examples of why their Wayspot is not showing up in the game? And you can
absolutely
what Tino said.
So this is the number one question that appears on the forums by far. Like if you were to take all of the questions, combine them, and do like a sum if, this would be way ahead. It's at least 2 or 3 times a day. People are just like, where's my spot? So each game has its own rules on what appears on their game board and what doesn't, right? So Ingress, it's very simple. It's as long as something isn't within 20 meters of another portal, it will appear as a portal. That wasn't always the case. There was a time when Ingress would just put anything on the map, and people kind of took advantage of that and nominated a whole bunch of stuff. So if you see kind of clusters together, that's why. The big thing that you need to understand is just because you see it in game, and just because something happens to be in a game and it breaks the rules that they have now, doesn't mean that it's going to break the rules now. Rules change, eligibility criteria change. So just because you see it in game doesn't mean you can get it in the game now. Pokemon Go, it's a lot more complicated than Ingress. They don't necessarily have a 20-meter rule that Ingress does. I think I might have said feet when I said it's meters, 20 meters. But you have to use something that's called S2 cells. So level, I think, I'm gonna look it up real quick because I always get S17 and S14 cells.
So S14 big one, S17 is the small one.
All right. So you only get one Pokestop or gym per S17 cell. And cells are, think of it as imaginary squares on the map, right? So you have a little square and you can only have one Pokestop inside that square. S14 cells are what determine gyms, right? So if you have a certain number of Pokestops in an S14 cell, you'll get a gym. I will link in the description in the show notes a really good article on GoHub that explains all of that. I don't want to get into all that. But if you're nominating something and there's something already in that S17 cell, it will appear on the database, and it will likely appear in Ingress, but it will not appear in Pokemon Go.
Right. Now, Chris, just for the out there, just to kind of wrap your mind around this, there are 64 S17s inside of an S14. So it's an 8x8 square.
Yes.
Now, the size of that 8x8 square is going to vary depending on the curvature of the earth and where you are on it. But for the YouTube viewers right now, you're looking at those green boxes. That is an S14. Now, inside of those green boxes are 64 smaller boxes that make up the S17 cells. So, do you have your S17 cells turned on? It's
I do.
Okay, it's hard
very
to see
faint,
there. Yeah. So, if you can see those grid lines, those are individual S17 cells that make up the larger S14 cells. So, you can only have 3 gyms in each individual S14. But every S17 can have its own individual POI in it. But S14 is locked to 3 gyms. Now, there used to be a rumor that you could have a 4th gym and all this and all that, but you cannot. You can only have 3. So
yeah, it used to be a thing, but it wasn't consistent, and they've axed it now. You can't even do it.
Yeah.
Right? So
if you're like Chris wondering, like, where is my Wayspot? If your Wayspot is in the same cell as something that is already in the game, it will not show up in Pokemon Go. Now, like Chris said, that doesn't mean it won't show up in Ingress. That doesn't mean it won't show up in any other game. I don't necessarily want to say Pikmin Bloom because I don't want Sarah Amanda to come after me again because Pikmin Bloom hasn't done an update ever. So but yeah, that is why your Wayspot is not showing up. So
yeah. So for the YouTube viewers, this is a S17 cell with 2 portals in it. So only one of those portals will show up as a Pokestop or gym in Pokemon Go.
Right.
We don't necessarily know the inclusion rules for other games yet because they don't necessarily sync ever, like Pikmin Bloom. Sorry, Sarah Amanda. So we don't necessarily know if those games will have different inclusion rules, whether they'll follow the Ingress map or the Pogo rules. We don't know yet. But once they start to sync the game board, we'll know better. And there are people who are way smarter than me that will figure out these rules, and there will be articles and stuff. And when we when that happens, we'll share it with you.
Yeah. And I'm guessing one of your colleagues at GoHub will probably figure it out and put out an article because you guys are pretty on it at GoHub. You guys have everything there. So I love that.
Yeah.
All right. So everyone, I hope that answers your question about where is my Wayspot. And if you have any further questions, you always reach out to us at wayspotters@PokemonProfessor.com and drop us an email, or you can follow us on Twitter at Wayspotters and drop us a message there, either DM us or whatever, or just put it out there. We're also on Instagram at Wayspotters and on TikTok at I Make Wayspots, or you can call 704-426-3710 and leave us a voicemail. But we would be extremely happy to help you. And then if you really want like up close and like help, you can join the Patreon at PokemonProfessor.com, Patreon/PokemonProfessor.com. We have a couple of channels on the Patreon where you can jump in, and Chris and I are almost all there. And not only Chris or I, but we've got a great community of wayfinders and people who know just as much and probably sometimes even more than us that will be willing to help you. So that Patreon channel is always open, and I'm always down to help people find stuff and write descriptions. Kind of like it. It's kind of my thing. So if your Wayspot is lost, reach out to us. We can pull up this map and show you. Right, Chris?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And if you need help mapping out like an area where you've got several Wayspots that you want to put in and you want to maximize the number of ones that show up in Pokemon Go, reach out. I love doing that. Love it. So Jamal and I are very, very good at mapping that stuff, and we will help you out for sure.
Yes. All right, Chris. So before we go to break, I want to debut a new segment and see how this goes. All right. So each week that I host a show, which is, I think I'm the odd shows and you're the even shows.
Yep.
Each week that I host a show, I do spotlight one place on the planet, and I want to do a funny / interesting news story from that part of the world. So the cliche thing to do would be to pick something from Spain. But since I'm not cliche, I didn't. I went on the other side of the world from where Spain is to British. So I want to cover this news story. I'm going to read this news story, and then we're going to put up a little graphic. So bear with me as I read this. So Mounties in North Vancouver, British Columbia, thwarted a toothpaste theft last Friday, seizing 2 duffel bags and 1 wagon's worth of product. In the social media, the detachment says officers were responding to an unrelated matter near a superstore when they noticed a man running out of an emergency exit, followed by the staff. The suspect was arrested, and the toothpaste, estimated to be worth $2,100 Canadian, was returned. We think he was trying to clean getaway, but was unsuccessful. The North Vancouver Royal Canadian Mounted Police, you like how I got that right? Flipped on Twitter. One user responded saying they would like to see a picture of exactly worth $2,100 worth of toothpaste look like. So the Waste Podcast is here for you. Here's what it looks like. That is what $2,100 worth of toothpaste looks like. Asking you shall receive, Mounties replied, sharing the photo. The North Vancouver RCMP spokesperson, Constable Mansoor Shahak. Is that right?
Yep. I think so.
Yeah. Constable Mansoor Shahak describes the theft as unusual, saying that the tubes, which were all the same brand and a particularly expensive brand, and thought to have been stolen in order to be resold on the streets. They're not using it for cleaning their teeth. I don't think anyone needs that much toothpaste. So, Chris, these officers deserve a crest or a plaque. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, that's amazing.
And these cops really took a bite out of crime. And the suspect, I'm guessing this was not his first brush with the law.
Oh, dad jokes before dad jokes. I love it. For audio listeners, the picture that we've shared is like a red kids wagon full of toothpaste and a duffel bag, like a gym bag full of toothpaste. We'll put this out on Twitter.
Yeah, we'll put it out on Twitter. It's good.
It's
It's
amazing.
good. Yeah. So I just thought that would be fun, just to kind of spotlight one place in the world. And if you out there are in somewhere and you have a funny news story from your world for a week, send it to us. And if you're a lucky trainer, send it to us at wayspotters@PokemonProfessor.com or send it to us on Twitter. And if you're lucky, we'll use it as the we got to come up with a name for the segment, but I just saw that and I'm like, we've got to use it, and it's awesome. So with that, Chris, go ahead and go to break, and we will play some dad jokes, and we will come back on the other side, and we will do what are we going to do? We do Wayspot of the week, Hola of the week, and some good stuff. So if you're listening right now, as I'm waving my hand, the music is starting right now to fade into break. So we'll see you on the other side. I just found out I'm colorblind. The news came out of the purple. How do cows stay up to date? They read the moose paper. Why is it so cheap to throw a party at a haunted house? Because the ghosts bring all the booze. Where do pirates get their hooks? At the second-hand store. Never date a tennis player. Love means nothing to them. I don't get why Marvel doesn't use the Hulk to advertise more. He's basically one big banner. What's a vampire's favorite ship? A blood vessel. All right, explorers, welcome back from the break. Hopefully you enjoyed the dad jokes. I really enjoyed them this week, and we'll see. Specifically, like the joke about the tennis player. Although I didn't do it twice, as it says in my notes. I only did it once. But anyways, so we're going to go ahead and get up to the back half of the show. As you all probably have guessed, when it comes to Wayspot of the week, that we were going to spotlight something from the challenge, right? So Chris has talked about how beautiful the scenery is in Spain, and we haven't really talked a lot about the other ones because we're just starting those, but I found this mural, and Chris, I want to give you a chance to talk about this and tell me how you would rate this mural. And by the way, this comes to us from Paul Naps in the Wayfarer discussion Discord.
Yes, Wayspot of the week. It is a gorgeous mural from Spain. It looks like it's on the side of a building. There's a couple of windows, and it's a guy in a hat, and it looks like he's gardening. There's some flowers in there, and there's some beautiful, vibrant colors in the background, the blue sky, streaks of purple and yellow, and some wavy green, and then some white in there, and it's a gorgeous mural of a gardener on the side of a building,
and it's huge.
It's like a 2-story building, and it covers the whole side of the building. It's amazing.
Yeah.
So this is one of the things that I was talking about that I loved seeing in Spain. The supporting photo is perfect, right down a good angle on the side of the street. The main photo got pedestrian access. The main photo is about as good an angle as you can get on a mural that big.
Yeah.
So fantastic job. The title is Cochinilla Mural, and the description is mural en fachada de 10 m de alto by 12 de largo de una campesina recolando Cochinilla. So
pretty
I
good.
did not translate that. I thought it was pretty good.
That's pretty good. Yeah, that's pretty good.
So yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful mural, and it is in Santa Cruz de Tenerife in Spain. So if you're in that area or you're ever in Santa Cruz de Tenerife, definitely go check it out.
Yeah. Great mural, and that gets 5 stars for me all the way down.
Absolutely.
Like that's
100%.
That's exactly what we want. So beautiful, beautiful. So let's get into something that is not necessarily as beautiful. Let's get into our favorite segment of the show. Let's go to Call of the Week.
I've been working on the Wayfarer all the live long day. I've been working on the Wayfarer minutes to pass the... Uh-oh. Oh, no. Hey, Jamal, I found some coal.
All right, we found some coal. And this one, my friends, is coal-tastic, if you ask me. So this one comes to friend of the show and Patreon, Village of Wolves from the Patreon Professor Network. And he sent this into our coal channel from the coal mine. And it's in, let me just explain this to you for the people listening on the audio podcast. So the title of this one, Chris, is Railroad. And the description is public railway. So what would you expect to see? Just ask you. If you weren't looking at this, what would you expect this nomination to be?
Like a train station, maybe?
Train station, right. Or maybe a train crossing.
Maybe a train crossing,
possibly,
yeah.
With like the arms that come down so you don't like get chopped in half and the blinking round lights. And I kind of get the feels Bugs Bunny, or not Bugs Bunny, but Roadrunner and the Coyote, how they always have a train there, right?
Yeah.
Just my childhood. No. This one is what I believe to be, and I don't want to be assumptive, but there's a little thing at the bottom left of it. I believe this is from Google Maps or Bing Maps or something that someone cropped and took a screenshot of it. And what you see is a railroad track running down the middle of two tree lines on either side, and it's an overhead from a map of a train track. It doesn't show where in the world it is. It's just an overhead map of just, and it's in Wichita, Kansas, which is in America's heartland. And the supplemental information, red flag, is the same as the main photo, Chris. It's the exact same. And the supporting image or the supporting text is trains. And there's no train in this picture. No train there. It's just track. So, I mean, it's third-party photo.
Mm-hmm.
It is the same photo as the supporting photo. It is a misleading title and a misleading description. It's cold.
And it's location inappropriate, too, because that's dangerous.
It's location inappropriate. The only thing is not it's a live animal. I would have got a chuckle out of it if it was a live animal. So
yeah, that's
Coal of the Week number 1. So hopefully you guys enjoy that. So let's move on to Coal of the Week number 2. And I'll let you take this one away, Chris.
All right. Coal of the Week number 2 is a tree. It's just a tree. It looks like it's got some vines on the trunk, and it's a bit of a ploofy tree at the top. So it's an interesting tree. It's a tree that I've never seen before. It's a Spanish tree, but it is still just a tree. And it's a tree, and then there's like a bush, a hedge on the right side, and like a light post in the background. So I don't know what they were trying to get at here. The title is Olivio de Santa Teresa. So it's an olive tree, I guess.
It's an olive tree, right?
It's cool.
Which is on brand for
many
Spain.
Olive trees, but yeah, it is on brand for Spain. Yeah, that's right. The supporting photo is, for supporting photos, it's not bad. It's got more context. You can see the tree in the background.
Right. If it was a legal nomination, it would be a really good supporting photo.
It's a great supporting photo of a not great nomination.
Right. I got a chuckle out of this one. Thank you to Maddie G, friend of the show on Patreon, who sent us this over. Maddie G's a good dude. Can I just say, I'm looking forward to Fest in New York because I'm going to get to hang out with you, Chris, but also I'm going to get to hang out with Maddie G. Maddie G's just a good dude. And it's always a good time hanging out with Matty G. You're going to like Matty G a lot. I promise you. He's just a good dude.
I'm really looking forward to it. I'm really looking forward to hanging out with you and Matty and all the other patrons and fans.
JT Valor's going to... Dude, our house is going to be off the hook. Our Airbnb, JT Valor, the first Temptero, Pure Later from the Pure Later podcast, Ken with Hair... I mean, we've got a murderer's row in our Airbnb, so we're gonna set Jersey on fire.
Oh, actually, I can't wait.
We probably shouldn't set Jersey on fire, but we're gonna have a good time in Jersey. So that's where our Airbnb is gonna be. So when we have the big party, we'll we'll let people know where they can meet us, and we'll even let you in
sure.
for free. Yeah, we'll let you in.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
It's gonna be a good time. All right, Chris, you got anything else for us this week?
No, I'm good, man. There's a couple posts in the forum real quick that I just noticed that I think there might be some issues with the challenge again, but they'll get it sorted out. So
okay, we have trust. The Wayfarer team has earned our trust, so we have trust in them. All right, so I will go ahead and close us out, and we'll get everybody back to your Sunday or Monday, or you're listening to this if you're in other parts of the world that are already the next day. So a big thank you for listening to this episode of Wayspoders. We really appreciate it. And a big thanks goes out to our executive producer, KatettheKonz, and all of our patrons and all of our other executive producers across the network. We couldn't do without you. Thank you so much. And really thank you to KatettheKonz for sending messages in the middle of the night. I love waking up in the morning to all these messages. Chris doesn't, I don't know when Chris sleeps, but Chris and KatettheKonz I'll wake up and there's like 60 messages in our little Discord. And I'm like, what the heck happened? And I'm like, yeah, then I try to jump in. And then I think that's when they're sleeping is when I wake up.
Yep.
Anyways, if you enjoy what you hear, there's a few ways that you can show us. So first and foremost, you can follow us on Twitter at Wayspotters. We like to say we're incredibly responsive, and we will reply to you just as soon as we can. And to the people who DM'd us, thank you. Appreciate the feedback you guys have given us. We love it. Keep it coming. Also, we are on Instagram at Wayspotters Podcast. Instagram is probably our most underutilized social media, and we need to get better at that. So we just got to get out and take more pictures. So Instagram, we just haven't posted on it in a while, but we'll do that. Next up is not something that's neglected, is our TikTok. Our TikTok is on fire, as the kids say. People are gassing us up on TikTok. So you can follow our TikTok at I Make Wayspots, IMAKE Wayspots on TikTok. So like we said, we're incredibly responsive, and we love interacting with listeners and the viewers. You guys keep us going. We really appreciate you. Second of all, you can visit our website, wayspotters.com. From there, you can get links to everywhere you can download the show. You can also send us a message directly from the website, and we would appreciate that. Or you can go the old school route, and you can send an email at wayspotters@PokemonProfessor.com. And we will do our best to get back to you and send us a message, and we might even read it on the show. We love reading it. We love reading it. So some of you guys might be watching this on YouTube. And if you're watching this on YouTube, you already know the link. But if you're not watching YouTube and you're on the audio version, you can visit our YouTube page at www.youtube.com/the@Wayspotters Podcast. And we checked, you do have to have the @ there. Third, you can give us a call on our hotline, 04-426-3710. I will do my best not to answer it when it rings, and I will let it go to voicemail because I don't want to freak people out. And you never know, your voicemail could appear on an upcoming episode of the show. Or you can go to our Twitter and you can tweet us a voicemail from there as well. And then finally, if you are not a member of the Pokemon Professor Network Patreon, you can join for as little as $1 US a month. That's only $1.36 Canadian. And I think it's $1.50 Australian. And if you want to write in and tell us what the conversion is in your language, we will add that in. So someone in Spain, tell us what it is there. Someone in Indonesia, India, Brazil, tell us the conversion, and we will add that to the show. Would love to do that. When you join the Patreon, you will have access to the Discord for the entire family of shows across the Pokemon Professor Network, Wayspotters, Special Conditions, Gotta Watch Them All, Purified Podcast, and Lord Up. It's a fantastic place filled with fantastic people. With that, we look forward to you listening to us again on the Wayspotters Podcast, and you will never know what you're going to hear next week. We probably don't know what we're going to say yet, so you'll have to tune in and listen. But with that, if you're on YouTube, make sure you subscribe if you like what you've seen. And also make sure you look on the bottom of the YouTube. Chris does a great job of putting in chapters so you can go and watch each part of what you want. So if you want to go straight to Cole of the Week, go straight to Cole of the Week. Or if you want to go straight to the dad jokes, which is what I would do, you can go straight to the dad jokes. So with that, again, we want to thank you very much for watching this episode of Wayspotters. And remember, there's only one way to stop the fire. Pause my mixtape. See you later.